yeah, Facebook, social media. And then they realize, oh, I can find my friend from high school. I can find that one that got away. So let me go ahead and see. I can go spy on people. So that's why that group went and there was a mass pursuit onto Facebook because they needed to learn how to do it. But they had to make a lot of mistakes and post the wrong stuff in order for them to be able to be high functioning and do it. So if you are not making mistakes, and I've said this before, I don't trust people who don't make mistakes because that means you are risk averse and that means that you are going to make sure that you stay in your comfort zone, and I don't want to hear about it because if you're not making mistakes then you causing problems for other people, and so you're gonna be sitting there judging everybody else's mistakes, and that's no bueno. So for me, you don't make no mistakes. That means you're not challenging yourself, you're not taking risks, you're not failing, so you don't know what does work and what doesn't work. So you can take that on back to Loserville. All right, number 8 is use distributed practice. So instead of trying to cram all of this information that you're learning into a long, drawn out study session, try brief focus sessions and then take a break. And so this information comes from the book Brain Rules that I've read multiple times. If you haven't read it, you can read it. I'm a little bit past it, but when I read it the times that I did read it, it was valuable information. I also learned about, because it's 12 brain rules. It talks about sleep cycles and things like that. So I'm saying, yes, you can read Brain Rules. I just don't have a need to read it again. But what happens is so in order for you to distribute the practice, you spend 20 to 30 minutes studying, learning, then you take a break. And then you come back and you restudy what you learned, and then you add something to it. And then you go take another break. And so the example that I would use is this method I started in college. As I've talked about, I struggled with reading well into my junior year of college. And so this is old school as hell. Look at this ring and these cards. But I started doing this in about 1993. And what happens is, and these are my real leader principles. So I have them on one side, and then I have what they are on the other side. So this is sitting on my desk. So throughout, I have a bachelor's degree in public law and government, which means I took political science classes and criminal justice classes. I have a master's degree in criminal justice and a doctorate in organizational leadership. So you got to remember a lot of the Constitution and laws and court cases. This works. So every time after class, I would come back and whatever I learned, I'd put on a card. And I'd carry these around with me and I'd study them, and then I'd hand them to people and say, quiz me, quiz me, quiz me. So by the time finals and midterms showed up, I just pulled out all my rings of cards and just went through them. And that's how I was able to learn them. So that's what distributive practice is you don't sit down for 7 hours. I'm going to learn all this stuff, because what you're going to have is cognitive overload, and you might remember some of it, but after the test, you're going to do a brain dump and you ain't going to be able to remember none of that. So if you actually want it to stay in your long-term memory so that you can use it consistently, you need a method. And this is my method, and it works. These cards all this is Dollar Tree, if you want to be bougie. And then I use big pens, and that's it. And so I keep them everywhere I go, just pull out my cards, and I'm doing distributive practice all the time. So as you can see, almost 30 years later, it is actually 30 years later, that I'm still using those principles, and it works. So distributive practice, do not try to cram anything down, because you are not going to learn it. You're going to memorize it enough to hold it temporarily, take the test, and then the next thing you know, you can't use any of that information. There's not a live that goes by that I'm not mentioning something that I've either learned in the military, that I've learned from Frito-Lay, or that I've learned from some book that I've read. And that's the other reason why, for those of you who were on the live yesterday, you saw all of the book reviews on the website, how I came to start reading, how I'm in my 11th year of a book challenge, and how I'm able to take that information. Some of you may have received a book review from me for a particular piece of information that you were working on. And so when people read books, I say, okay, once you finish with the book, let me know, and I'll send you my book review. I don't want to skew your learning, but once you do it, then you may have taken something away that I didn't, and vice versa. So the point is to distribute the learning across paths and make sure that you learn it, and then that way you can remember it. So if I read a book and I go, wait a minute, what did I think? So for example, The Art of War, Who Moved My Cheese, have a lot of book reviews on that. And some of them, it's me video, some of it is me in graphics. And some of it is me talking over graphics. So I go and find that particular book review and send it to someone. The point is not to use your time all at once. So if you have 7 hours that you need to learn something, 20 to 30 minutes, take a break, go back,